This is such a prevalent issue in our society because we don't talk about it.
Brooke Ruffin with the faith-based nonprofit Street Grace is working to end human trafficking and the sexual exploitation of children. A survivor herself, she says it starts with awareness.
I'm a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, which led to me noticing how nobody talks about it, and how, as a child, if I had received some sort of education or if adults knew how to recognize the signs of somebody who had been exploited, then I do think I would have come forward before I did.
Chris Carr, the Attorney General of Georgia, has partnered with Street Grace to educate the public. The state estimates up to 3,600 Georgia children are sold for sex each year. Carr says children need better protection, and he's calling on adults to stay alert.
When we're talking about one of our most vulnerable populations, children, we as adults, we don't have just a legal obligation, which of course we do, but we have a moral obligation as well.
Sex trafficking goes beyond state borders, can affect people of all ages, and many victims may not share their story. That was the case for Shamika, a child sex trafficking survivor. She opened up to Street Grace, but as a little girl, she found it difficult to tell family about her abuser.
I just wanted to tell on him, but I just didn't know how to tell them what he was doing.
The Catholic Church is fighting human trafficking. Pope Francis says it represents an unjustifiable violation of the freedom and dignity of its victims. It is to be considered a crime against humanity. The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops supports survivors and combats the issue with its anti-trafficking program. The National Human Trafficking Hotline reports in 2019, 14,597 victims and survivors of sex trafficking contacted the organization. Ruffin says even in the safety of homes, children can be exploited. The FBI has issued warnings about online predators luring victims through social media sites and dating apps. And the pandemic spurred more activity. In a 2021 summary on global trafficking, the U.S. State Department said reports from several countries, including the Philippines, India, and the U.S., demonstrated drastic increases in online commercial sexual exploitation and sex trafficking.
Sex trafficking is the fastest growing criminal industry in the world. So just as fast as the criminal industry is growing, we have to grow our efforts against it at the same pace.
Ruffin says demand for sex trafficking can be fueled by strip clubs or pornographic websites. She says consumers or producers of both may consider criminal activity.
So then they start considering dehumanizing another person enough to actually going through with purchasing them.
Some effort has been made on the legislative front to fight online trafficking. The 2020 bipartisan Stop Internet Sexual Exploitation Act requires internet companies to establish standards intended to protect people from sexual exploitation. But if it actually gains enough support to become law is another story. Mark Irons, EWTN News In Depth.